we going to go about it? I'm going to open a case study. I want one of you to, to own up and just tell me, if you were given this sim, how would you organize your thoughts? Okay. It's my sincere suggestion that before you start writing, you should be able to, you take a pen or a paper in your exam, you should be able to just write the key things. How are you going to frame your answer? And then you start answering. Okay. So from you, I want the format. I want the keywords, so this is what you're going to write in this para, this para, this para, and what are the keywords. And I want the others to put in your answer in the chat panel. And in the end, I'll tell you what are the stuff that you guys missed as a full group. I'm thinking of a full group of 25 people here. I'm going to see what is it that you got missed. And in the end, I'm going to show you a standard answer. Is that okay? I'm going to show you a standard answer that has been provided. Okay, 1 second. Have we got the name changed? Okay. Who was it who joined with Lenovo, guys? I don't know. Just write your name in the chat panel. At least I'll know who. Okay, Gaurav, I think. Was it you, Gaurav? Okay, let's take the first sim. Okay. As we do in all our simulations and we do it in all the WCs, I want you to know the ask of the question. Okay, what is it that they're asking? What kind of a sim is it? Okay, so let's take the first sim. Ben is the controller of Cemex Products, which is a small publicly held manufacturing company that operates in both US and Mexico. The Cemex Products Board of Directors is increasingly concerned about and interested in how to better manage enterprise level risks. They have asked Ben to write them a letter that defines enterprise risk management and discusses what risks should be considered as part of ERM. The board also wants Ben to explain what benefits accrue to an organization that implements an effective system of managing enterprise level risks. First question. If I want you to coherently tell me the ask of the question, what are the key points? Mention 1, 2, 3, and then write. Coherently, what are the asks of the question? Yes, if I look at the question, what are the various asks of the question? I want you to first jot it down. Guys, everybody can attempt it. Okay. Are you able to? What are the various asks of the question? Definition. Okay. So first thing is ERM. What is ERM? They want us to define that. Okay. Next. Explain the term ERM. What are the various? Okay.
Components of ERM.
Okay. Components. When you say components, I'm going to talk about all the 5 components one by one. Think of the question very clearly. Okay, first of all, is it a direct question? Is it a question which is customized to this particular industry? What do you think? Is this a case scenario or a direct question, guys? See, you cannot negate the fact that it is US and Mexico. Don't you think so? Because there are certain risks. Because see, this is talking about ERM for a particular company who has operations in only two places, which is US and Mexico. So it's not just global. We have to refer to an individual case of US versus Mexico. That also, some specific risks of operating in Mexico should also come into the picture, isn't it? So it's case specific, but I cannot pinpoint and say, okay, this is what they asked me. I want a general idea of the entire concept of ERM to frame a question like this. Okay. So what do we say? The question is very clear. I want to know what is ERM. I will not write about the components, by the way, guys, here, because that is, again, it's a very specific answer. I can't make it a generalized question. Okay. I'm going to write for this particular company, what are the risks that I should be considering. So even though I want to give you an idea of what risks are, but I'm going to make this very case specific. I am going to talk about some specific risk that is being faced by this company. Then I'm going to write about, okay, How does principle? Okay, yeah, I think that's a good question. Okay, Prerna, I think it's related to this question. Okay, at the end of this, I will just unmute you and you can talk about it. We're going to talk about the benefits. Okay, what is the benefit of ERM? So these are the three things, isn't it? What are the risks? What is an ERM? Define ERM. So this is one. What are the risks and the benefits? These are the three specific questions which are asked in the question. So I know that when I have an intro, body, and conclusion, I know that my intro, my body will have three paras. I'm going to have what is ERM. I'm going to have what is ERM is easy, right? Because this is what we know. This is a known territory. Then we're going to talk about what are the risks, which are specifics, and what are the benefits of having an ERM. Now, this is a little gray. And I know I need to have an opening line and I need to have a closing line. Okay. Now see, the opening line generally also depends on what is given to you in the question. So sometimes you see they will already write to the board. That format is given to you and you're supposed to write after that. Then we don't need to mention the opening line, then it is already being addressed to somebody. So look at the format that is given to you. If so, opening line generally is the addressee. Whom are we addressing this problem to? So here in this case, it is a board. So if they tell you in the format to the board is already written, then you don't have to mention it again. If it is not written, then we'll mention it. What is ERM is easy. Tell me what risks are we going to talk about in this particular section? What risks? Yeah, Prerna, I think you will get the answer to that question from what we are doing. Yeah, tell me, what are the risks? And don't give me global gyan. Give me something that is relevant in this case and you can talk about it. And if I want you to talk about the benefits of ERM, what are you going to answer? So first, let's talk about the risks. What do you think should be the risks? Think. What can be the risks? One second. Cost of implementation. No, that's not the risk. Amorpha, that's not the risk. No, this you're assuming that they're going. Translation risk, yes, that could be. But then see, translation, Jaishankar, is a very specific risk. That is only, have they told you that they have a subsidiary there? They've not told you that. So it'll be better if you can write something. Yes, you write something global, write a forex risk or a currency risk rather than writing a specific thing, which is translation, because you're assuming that they have a subsidiary in Mexico. That should not be your thing. So first risk is forex risk, the currency, because US has a more stable currency and Mexican currency is not so stable. Very good, Gayatri. When you say foreign policy risk, what do you mean by that? Unmute and tell me. What do you mean by that? Just quickly unmute and tell me what can be the potential foreign policy risk. Hey, make it fast, guys. Okay, we've got to do 10 case studies. Okay. Competition risk from peers. Okay. Gayatri, why can't you unmute? You guys, if there's a problem with unmuting, there's something wrong in your system. Okay, because from my side, it is showing that you are unmuted. So log off and then relog in. Okay. Yeah. Can you write about something very specific to US and Mexico? Can you give me something very specific to US and Mexico, guys? Anybody here? I'm looking at something which is very good, Gayatri. Border policies, right? That's one thing which is very specific to this case, which is border policies. Okay. Anything else? So forex risk, political risk, legal risk. Now, see, also understand there was a time when Donald Trump came into picture, right? And suddenly he said that we're closing all borders and those will not. So political risk, yes, Rahul, very good. Political risk will become very important. Who is going to be at the helm of affairs of US and Mexico can have an impact. Okay. So yes, more or less this is done. So what my suggestion is going to be that when you write about risk, make it into two paras. Okay. The first para will talk about risks in general. And the other para will talk about risks which are specific to this company. So what you should do is your answer should talk about general, but in examples, you can write about this particular company. For example, for us, it is going to be this. For us, it is going to be like this, right? Okay, now benefits. Any idea about benefits? I know everybody knows the answer, but I want you to know what are the keywords that will fall into benefits. Transaction. Now, again, Bhavna, as I told you, don't use the word transaction or translation, use forex or currency risk. Yes. Economic risk, again, is very global, Bhavna. You cannot write it in a global parlance. You have to bring it down and refer to this particular case study. So what is legal risk? I don't know. So see, if I am a dud, what did I tell you? When you write the answer, assume I'm a complete dud. I am a boss who knows nothing. How are you going to explain me? So if you give me all of this, I'm going to write, okay, what is political risk? What is legal risk? What is economic risk? You don't want anything left or wanting from your email. Got it? Yeah, guys. The keywords for benefits. What are you going to write about the benefits? The keywords for benefits. Yes? Okay, identification of risk. Very good. Anything else? Rahul Bose. Rahul, unmute. What do you mean by risk appetite of the organization?
Am I audible?
Yeah, audible. Bolo.
Risk
appetite.
See, if we conduct the risk analysis as such, so it should essentially give me a score of the risks as to which all areas are gray, which all areas are normal, and which all areas I need to be concerned about. So on the basis of that, I will be knowing what is the risk appetite of the organization. That is my
No. Okay, how are you going to write it in the answer? You're not going to say that because of this analysis, you will know your risk appetite. No, you will have to say because of this, you can match the risks to your appetite, to your risk appetite of the industry, of the company as well, and see to it that strategically we are aligned and we're not exposed to undue risk. Are you understanding what I mean?
Yeah, or we can also do that I can link it to the internal controls that we can on the basis of the risk identified, we can attach it to the internal controls and define the internal controls for the organization.
Very good. So when you frame, see, you know the concepts, but how do you frame your answers is important, right? So first thing is it helps you to proactively identify the risk. That's number one. Yeah. Second, from here, we can understand what risks are and we can ensure that we're not caught off guard, and we can align those risks to the company's strategies and their risk appetite to ensure that we're not moving outside our comfort zone. Right. Third, and the most important thing, we are coming up with an adequate response. So what you told about internal control, Rahul, the key word is response. You should come up with a response to those risks. For example, the internal control will be the answer. Are you clear?
Yeah. Got it.
Yeah. So what we have done, it's a very gray area question because it's such an open question that we know so much about internal ERM that we don't know what to write and what to leave. So first, understand the ask of the question. Second, frame your answer. How would you frame your answer? The intro would be a very simple straight line that I'm going to discuss about the risks, the benefits, and what is ERM, the risks and the benefits. Very simple. Intro done. Then you go to body. Body will be divided into 3 paras. The definition, which is simple. Then the risks. Risk I will try to cover in 2 paras, general and specific, if it's possible. Then I'll go to the benefits. I want 3 main keywords. I want identification of risks. I want alignment of risk. I want response to risks. Closing line ideally is a very simple line which says, one line which says, if there is any further question that you have, I would love to be available to answer those questions, or something in the same thing. Okay, so opening line generally talks about whom are you addressing to. Closing line generally talks about the fact that it's a memo, so you want to keep that line open, that in case if you have any queries, you can get back to me. Intro is what you're going to write. So format that we're going to follow is very simple. Tell them what you're going to write. So this becomes your intro. Then write it. Okay, and then conclude what you wrote. So as for this, you see, for our company, it will be very good if we can go for an effective risk management strategy. Conclude. Please don't leave it open-ended. Don't come as a student. If you asked me, I told you everything, now you decide what you have to do. No, I am a person with a responsible position. So I'm saying it is good for my company. And then have a closing line. I'm polite, so I'm going to give you a closing line. So 3 things. Say what you're going to write it, sum up, and take a stand. Is this clear? Everybody. See, evaluation of control, yeah, prioritizing your risk, very good. So these are keywords. See, understand, don't write a lot of literature after you've written the keyword. Nobody's reading your literature. So save your time, coherently frame your answers, write the keyword, make your point, move. Don't elaborate on anything because the computer is not going to pay attention to that. So if you have proper paras, if you have the keywords properly read, because there will be somebody who will be looking for identification, prioritization, developing an adequate response. All of that is there, we are sorted. Is this clear? Everybody, try not to use a term which is not mentioned in the case study. So don't use translation or transaction, use an open word. Okay, gotcha. 1 second. Okay, Jay Shankar has a very good question. अगर इतना पता ही नहीं होगा तो क्या लिखेंगे? If you don't know anything about it, then what you do? See, if you don't know anything about it, I have 2 suggestions. First thing is you understand that बहुत ज़्यादा रैप करके भी अगर कुछ नहीं होगा, don't spend a lot of time on that session. That's number 1. Second, ऐसा नहीं होगा कि you will know nothing about the topic. First, understand that you have to come up with a position that it's not possible that I don't. You are aware. Jay Shankar, unmute yourself fast.
Yeah, ma'am.
So first of all, you will deal with this psychology. Why will you not know anything about a topic for which you've learned?
Yeah.
Why will you not know? That's number 1. Second, so the question will never be that you don't know. The question will always be that you know, but you don't know how to connect the dots.
Yeah, that is the point. That is the point.
So that is what we are doing it, right?
Yeah.
That is why we're having this class, how to help you connect the dots. So you never come up with a zone that you will not know. वो है ही नहीं, वो option ही नहीं है exam. Is that clear?
Acha, yeah. Sounds
So you will never, whenever you look at your question, I don't want the first voice in your mind to say, you don't know this. The first voice should be, I know this. Let me just pull it out and make sense out of it. Is that clear?
Yeah, ma'am. Thank you.
So the problem will not be of not knowing. The problem will be of knowing more than what is required and how to curtail it. Is that clear?
I understand.
Okay. Now see, I am not going to take you through the solution. Okay. But I'm just telling you, in general, the keywords are there. They have told you what is ERM. They've told you a number of risks and they've given you a global, so somebody here, Anita was talking about human risk, competition risk, disaster recovery. So these are general risks. And then they have told you something very key to this organization. So they have told you a number of benefits. They have used the keywords like risk appetite, making of strategies, prioritizing the risk. How do you deal with it, avoid it, reduce it, share it. And then they have actually what they've done is they have written one para on the specific risks. So what they've done is they have written the benefits first. Then they have categorized and told you what those risks are. So in general, they have made this general, then they have made it specific, then they have written a conclusion, and this is the closing. So it is up to you. You can frame the answer the other way also. So long as the keywords are there and so long as an organization is there, it's great. So they've written about something about border, they've written about something about, online. They've also said something about not being physically there, but being there through an online kind of a thing, just a e-commerce or a web commerce kind of a thing. Even if that is there, it's okay. So see this, if the points are not there in your mind, don't emphasize a lot. It's okay. If you can write 1 or 2 general points also, it is okay. Don't get disheartened just because you cannot think of this particular line, because you will not be able to think, right? But so long as organized. So remember what I told you. Completeness. So how do you ensure completeness? You've written about ERM, you've written about the benefits, you've written about the risks. Done. What about relevance? I've not written about, and so I will not. So Anirban, was it you who spoke about components? So I'm not going to waste my time. Were you? I don't remember. Was it you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So remember to stay on the topic. So if you start writing about the components and we've deviated, so we would not want that, right? So that's one thing that we need to remember. And the third thing is the format is there. And the fourth thing is the keywords are there. We'll get a good answer. Okay, now let's look at the second sim. So this was our first sim in the COSO framework. Okay, let's look at the second sim now. Again, it's a very open area sim. And I don't want you to play a role of of somebody who is in between. No, these are very specific questions. They want to have an answer. And that answer cannot be a yes and a no. It has to be one answer. Remember that. Okay. Imagine your boss is completely useless. So you have to do the job. Now, then you cannot tell the CEO, this is also done, this is also done. Then the CEO will say, what the hell are you doing? Right. So you have to take a position. So look at this question. John is a CPA who's worked as a volunteer at the International Commonwealth Track and Field Games. Each day of the 6-day games, about $100,000 in cash and $2 million in credit card revenues came into the accounting office. So you're operating or you are volunteering for an NGO. Your job is to count cash, and the amount of cash that we're talking about is humongous. You're talking about 2 million credit card collection and 100,000 in cash every day. John's volunteer duties include counting cash each evening and then reconciling the credit card receipts and the credit card fee payments to the cash receipts journal and the credit general ledger. So typically, I'm taking the money, I'm taking a record. At the end of the day, I'm closing all of this and I'm putting it into the system. Control procedures required at least 2 individuals to be present in the accounting office at all times. So we don't want, so okay, very quick question. What kind of a risk are we talking about here? What kind of risk are we talking about? Lying, stealing, cheating. What kind of risk are we talking about? Are we talking about lying? Are we talking about the risk of stealing? Are we talking about the risk of cheating? Are we talking about non-compliance? Are we talking about asset stealing? Very good, right? So we are talking about stealing. We don't want people to run away with cash and not report it. That's why one of the most important process is segregation of duties and having at least 2 people for observing the cash count, so that even if one is weak on ethics, there is other who is acting as a deterrent. Now, so you've taken 2 volunteers on board. However, Esther, the other volunteer who was at work with John on Thursday evening, had a 4-year-old toddler who was ill. Hence, Esther requested that John count the cash and perform the reconciliations for this day by himself, since she would not be available for doing her part of the duty. Now comes the ask of the question. Write a memo discussing the role of monitoring of internal control in improving corporate governance. So we have now the COSO framework playing in our mind. We have the C, the R, the I, the M, the E. I also know the monitoring flashing very big in my eyes. I'm talking about the monitoring. And now they want me to tell them how the monitoring of internal control is relevant to the issue identified. So I'm talking about having more than one person while counting cash. Why do you think it is relevant and how is it linked to the monitoring aspect of internal control? And give me reasons for your answer. Okay, so it's an answer where you have to understand what is the problem. You have to reach a conclusion that for one day, if somebody is just one person is there, 2 people are not there, is it okay? If it is okay, then why is it okay? If it is not okay, then which part of the monitoring of internal control are they jeopardizing? And you have to tell that guy also what is the solution for this in order to ensure that this does not happen in future. What is the remedy for it? Is this clear? So I again go back by my normal stuff. We need to have an opening line, which generally is to so-and-so person. We need to have an intro. We need to have a body. We need to have a conclusion. We need to have a closing line. Okay. Now tell me, how are you going to start? What is the starting para for a case like this? Yes? What is the starting para for a case like this? Yes, guys? Segregation of duties is required. Are you going to start like this? What is your first para? That is my question. What is the first para? No. Remember, you have to have completeness and you need to stick to the point. Start with the last 2 lines of the question, but last 2 lines is very gray, right? Rahul, what exactly? Internal control and its importance. Okay, see, there are two kinds of things that you can do. What I'm understanding from most of you. Fast, guys, think. Rahul, starting with last 2 lines is ask of the question. I don't know what is the answer.
Can I add?
1 second. Who is this? Oh, Rahul, okay, this is you. So write in the chat panel. What exactly do you want to start with? Internal control and its monitoring. Is that the call of the question, guide 3? Do you think they want to know about internal control? What is the specific ask of the question? What is the specific ask? Sharath here is given the right answer. You're going to start with monitoring because that is what they're asking. The question is all about monitoring aspect of internal control. Okay. And you have to pick up the keywords here. So we start with monitoring and how it works and what is the relevance of monitoring. So what is the problem with monitoring, Sharad? In this particular question, what is it that the problem has happened in monitoring? Can you tell me? Quick.
So there is no proper segregation of duties.
No, there was a
monitoring.
proper segregation of duties. No. Why do you say there was no proper segregation of
No,
duties?
there was a proper segregation of duties, but due to certain circumstances, we couldn't manage it. But if we'll have monitoring in place, so monitoring, the element of monitoring like separate and ongoing evaluation processes will help us to identify any anomalies in the ongoing process.
Stop. Yes, you're correct. That means what is the problem? The problem is not of the design of the internal control.
Yeah,
The problem was to effectively keep on sticking to that design. Do you agree?
correct.
So what is the problem? The problem is if you don't monitor, then a very well-defined and a properly well-defined internal control aspect can go haywires and defeat the purpose of internal control. Do you all agree? That is a problem that you're going to start with. That means from the case, you're going to start off saying what is monitoring, link it to the case immediately. Don't beat around the bush because it's a very, very specific case. Now, one thing I want you to understand, the length of your answer has nothing to do with your scoring capacity. There may be small sims, there may be big sims. Okay. So one thing is it is designed but not working efficiently. Okay. So that is the problem. Okay. So how are you going to fix it? So first of all, we are reaching a conclusion that in this particular case, the absence of a second member is a big flaw which cannot be avoided even for a day. Do you all agree? So we have to mention that. We have to mention it very critically that what is happening is we have a well-designed control which is not working properly. Hence, monitoring is required. Then you're going to write one global para on the role of monitoring and internal control. Then you're going to link it to the case and say in this particular case, we cannot avoid it as a one-off case. It is a problem of the effective implementation. Rahul, it's a very global problem. Unmute yourself. See,
Yeah.
try and understand. देखो, एक बात समझने की चेष्टा करो. If I have a problem, right? मैंने तुम्हें बोला as an internal control head कि देखो ये हो रहा है मेरे यहाँ. तुम बोलोगे employ separate agencies for monitoring the internal control. अरे, but the problem has already happened, ना? Cash is already gone, isn't it?
Has the cash gone, or is he just be apprehensive that it might go? Because if he says that the cash is gone, he will be, convicting himself, right?
No, listen. The call of the question is what? The call of the question is, this has happened once.
Yeah.
Now somebody is asking you how to fix it. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying cash is gone or cash is not gone. Even if the cash is gone, the system will not be able to catch it because it is cash, right? And the guy has went away with it without recording it, isn't it?
Correct.
The solution that you have to give me right now is a short-term solution. I am a volunteering service. This can always happen. Whether in future I'm going to have a good agency or not is a different thing. Right now, what to do? Tell me that first. So even if you give an answer like the way you have answered, you have to be very clear of what is a short-term solution to fix it immediately. What is that?
Okay.
1 second, Rahul, unmute yourself. Huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Nafia, what is it? Guys, can you understand what I'm saying? See, very, very good, Gayatri. Very good answer. Yes, you need to have somebody who's a standby, right? You cannot have only 2 people in the team saying that, because see, there's always a problem. One person can back out. Have at least 2 more volunteers and have an SOP drawn which says if anybody is missing, this is the SOP, right? One day before, try and say, okay, if you're not available, or if there's suddenly somebody who's not available, there's a second person whose name is ready to be reckoned. This is a strict no. You cannot let your people think that this is something that they can handle on their own, right? So imagine if somebody gives you a question, you cannot give a global answer. You have to imagine as if you're doing it for your company. So you cannot give your boss an answer which is, applicable 2-3 months down the line. Right now, what do we do to fix the hole? Right now, have somebody else in the standby as a volunteer. Okay, that's it. That's the entire MCQ, entire WC. So it starts with the problem in hand. It links with the theory of monitoring. Why is monitoring relevant? Then it tells you Yes, there is a problem in the company. You cannot avoid it because there is a problem. The problem has already happened. What can you do? Immediately fix up a wallet thing. And then in the end, you can write what Rahul said, that in the long run, we would want somebody to closely monitor this aspect and throw up with flag reports or red flag reports on a timely basis, long run. And in case of any confusion, please come ahead and talk to us. I'll be more than happy to it. So start with the intro. There is a problem, and I'm going to discuss it. Have a body broken into monitoring, problem of monitoring in this specific case. Okay, so you reach a conclusion that no, this is not an acceptable thing, and you have to give a solution. Okay, and then there must be a closing line. Is that clear? So ideally, the solution will be a part of conclusion. Is this clear? It's a very open-ended question, and your mind can go. So the moment you pick up with internal control and its advantages, you have lost the thing there itself. So understand the ask of the question really well. Is this clear, guys? So look at the answer that was typically provided. So it first starts with the concept of monitoring straight away. That the problem with internal control is I can spend a lot in designing it. So you see, this is something that you might not get on your own, which is okay. There's no need. I want you to mention the fact that there's designing and there is effective, operating effectiveness, as we call it, right? Designing, operating effectiveness of controls. Then you talk about monitoring, and very globally you've spoken about what is the benefit of monitoring. Okay. Now, what is the benefit of monitoring? Here I want some keywords. So this is monitoring, one of the aspects of COSO. What is the benefit? The benefit you've got to say is very clear, that we don't wait for the problems to solve retrospectively. We can come up with a proactive solution to the problem. Because of this, there will be more timely information. There will be the cost of correcting the errors will be less. Okay. Then we have to speak about a problem that yes, there is an issue in your concern because the segregation of duties. So the keywords here are segregation of duties. The keyword here is monitoring. The keywords here is that this is not happening and there is a control deficiency. I want the keywords. The keywords is monitoring. Designing could have been a keyword here, frankly. Operating effectiveness, segregation of duties. There is a control deficiencies. And how do you do that? Have somebody who's a standby who can fill up the gaps there. Is this clear? Everybody, by now I think the hang of the question is there, right? Oh, yes, Anita, that's a very good thing. You can talk about putting up the CCTV cameras. But see, you have to fix up the problem of, that's one of the answers. Yes, you can talk about the senior staff who's acting as a standby wall. You can do that. Both of these are good answers. Okay, so yes, you can do that. Is this clear? Can we move ahead?